Hello, thank you for joining me. I've been asked to talk about this subject by one of the people who follow the channel, and it's something that I think I'm going to say a couple of things that people might not agree with. So just to say, it is my opinion based on having worked with clients for many years. And I was asked to talk about the mother wound, i.e. the hurt caused by a mother on her offspring. So let's get the controversial bit out of the way first of all. I strongly believe that abuse, and let's call it what it is, by a mother, especially on her offspring, is worse than any other abuse. Abuse by another woman, abuse by a man, but in a different way. It hurts differently because any abuse is horrible, hurtful, repulsive. But when it's by a mother, I feel that it is coming with extra baggage, because children, and it's usually children, though I have worked with some adults who were abused by their mother when they were beyond childhood. But a mother comes along with the children's reading book pictures still of someone who is caring, nurturing, somebody who may have possibly nurtured and cared for the child early on, but then for whatever reason they changed. Sometimes that loving care was never there and they rejected the child, though maybe physically keeping them with them, but not showing them any love, not nurturing them. And the number of children that I've worked with, and I was the person who was designated to work with children at the charity. And also I worked with the men who others didn't want to work with, the ones who were attending to violence. But I was never, ever hurt in any way, apart from by the stories that they told. And to see a grown man crying about what his mother had done to him, I found that hard. And when you're listening to something like that, you have to set aside your own feelings that you as a mother find that abhorrent because you're a mother. And the thought of doing something like that to any child is absolutely abhorrent. And the fact that this child would probably go to school, which could well be the safe place for them, and hear stories of other children's families, what their mums did, that their mums would meet them at the school gate, and if it was a nice day, they'd go along to the ice cream man and get an ice cream. I'm not going to go into any of the details of any of the abuse that I was told about, but how do you get over things like that? getting over any abuse is doable. You go from surviving to thriving with good support, the support of a loving family and friends, and very often of therapy. But when your trust in a mother figure is demolished, completely demolished, that spreads to any other woman. And learning to trust, and therefore learning to go forward with another relationship, can be very hard. But it's that learning to trust and accept that it wasn't your fault, but also that you just cannot imagine that every other woman, every other mother is going to be the same. It's very easy to catastrophize and imagine that they are, but they aren't. But when the trust has been demolished and the pain of the physical, emotional, all kinds of abuse, I will leave it at that. The wounds take a lot longer to heal, I've found. I know you can't generalize, but as I say, I always found that the most difficult, probably because I had that mindset that as a woman, I was a carer, I was a nurturer, and that's how women should be. And I know, don't shout at me, that men can be just as nurturing, just as caring. But that's the way it came across to me. So if you don't agree, I apologise. But we're all entitled to our opinions. And how do you overcome it? Slowly is the only way. That you need to gently get to know somebody, probably first as a friend maybe part of a group, and then gradually, slowly, at a pace that's right for you, begin to trust. And whether you share what has happened to you, that's a very, very personal decision. Some people do, some women do, some men do. But that is a personal decision depending on what happened, how much you feel comfortable talking about, and how much you feel it would help any future relationship by you talking about it. But the main thing is that you need to remember that it was not your fault, especially if this happened during childhood. No matter how mischievous, how naughty you might have been, it's not your fault. It really wasn't. So don't go round bearing that on your shoulders and beating yourself up with it. It was not your fault. So, on that note, that mother wound, it probably will always remain as a scar, but the wound can be healed. And the wound can be healed with the support of friends, of a woman that you trust and love, and who loves you back in return. And it is possible. I've worked with many who have gone on to have really lovely relationships following on from such situations. So there we are. I will now go and have a drink because the voice is just about gone, and say thank you for joining me. If it has stirred anything for you, or if you don't agree with what I said, I apologise. Take care for now. Bye for now. Bye.